Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com for Friday, April 23rd, 2021. I am Kevin Rogers. We're coming to you a half hour earlier today, so we'll take you from 11:30 till about 12:15 or so. And we have a lot to get to. Want to thank everyone that has participated so far in our Daily Insider contest. And we've had several winners. And basically, if you're new to this, want to let you know how you can also have a chance to be a part of the Daily Insider contest. Now, it's very, very easy. That you just got to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider, and you give us your user ID from VegasInsider.com. If you don't have a user ID, you go up to the big yellow register button on the homepage in the upper right corner, and you register now, free membership. So you don't have to pay anything. It's not like you have to pay to be in this contest. It's all free. And you create it in case you don't have a user ID. Create an ID, a password, put your email in there so we can get in contact with you in case we have to. And you put down a best bet for tonight, for Friday. Whether it's NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, doesn't matter. It could be a first half, it could be a player prop, it doesn't make a difference. Anything you want. Now, remember that you have to win the bet, or your best bet, to be eligible for the prize. Now, the prize is a week's worth of handicapper picks for a handicapper of your choosing on VegasInsider.com. Our marketing team will reach out to you, and if you are the winner. Now, remember, it's a drawing, so if there are 5 people that win, not all 5 people win the prize. It's one person that wins the prize. So just want to remind you of that. But also, if you don't win, you have a chance to win the next day. Now, we don't have a show this weekend, so we'll be back on Monday. But if you don't win today, you can always win on Monday. So you always have an opportunity. But and also, if you win that week, you're not eligible again to win until the next week. So you can't just win Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and win every day. It's got to be only once a week. And again, you're in the drawing too. So, you have all of that. But that's it, the Daily Insider contest. So put down your user ID, your Vegas Insider user ID, as well as your best bet for the day. And make sure you're a subscriber to our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. So all of that you can do, and then you'll be all set to potentially win the prize, which is a week's worth of handicapper picks from a handicapper of your choosing at VegasInsider.com. So, with all that being said, let us begin with today, and we'll start with Major League Baseball since it's first up on the docket. And let's look, there I am. Let's look at yesterday in Major League Baseball. How about that crazy game in Cincinnati? The Diamondbacks pull off the sweep of the Reds 14-11, a game that was 2-1 going to the 6th and an 8.5 total. Still a long way to go, but you saw things blew up there in the 6th and 7th, and then 9 runs scored in the 10th inning. This is the danger, and spoiler alert, Seattle-Boston in a second. This is the danger of taking unders now with the extra inning rule. That if you get to extra innings, you can have a massive blow-up. And a game that could be 2-2 going to the 10th with an 8.5 total can completely blow up. And not because the game's going so many innings, but just because that one inning where you start with the runner on second, Arizona scores 6 in the top of the 10th, Cincinnati scores 3 in the bottom of the 10th. So you get 9 runs there. You have an 8.5 total. You could have been 0-0 going to the 10th and had 9 runs scored in the 10th inning. I know it's not exactly the norm, but still, be cautious of that because we're starting to see, like Oakland and Minnesota the other day, that bad beat with the Twins. There were 5 runs scored in the 10th inning, 2 in the top, 3 in the bottom. So these things can happen where it's not just like the Mets-Cubs right below where only 1 run is scored. Just saying that, give you that warning, that could happen that we've not seen in previous years of these major blow-ups in extra innings. So, Diamondbacks pull off the sweep of the Reds. The Cubs end up holding off the Mets 4-3, so Chicago playing a little bit better right now. They're getting there. The Giants put up 3 in the top of the first, shut the door after that. No more runs scored the rest of the way. The Marlins pick up just 2 hits in the loss. Daniel Castano beat the Giants last week, loses to them last night. And Aaron Sanchez pitches very well in the win for San Francisco as the Marlins get only just the 2 hits. So I've talked about this before, and I did not mention this yesterday. I forgot, my bad, but teams that get swept at home specifically, and then they go on the road, all right, they're usually good looks because everyone's so down on them. And the San Diego Padres got swept at home by Milwaukee. We saw this earlier in the month with Texas. They got swept by San Diego. They got the plus 1.5 against Tampa Bay the first game and then won the final 3. So they didn't win the first one, but won the final 3. And there was someone else. It was, we had just talked about it. It was Texas. I think it was it Detroit? There was someone else that got swept, and then they ended up winning the next. I think it was Detroit who won at Houston. They won the next game on the road as a big dog. Now San Diego was, plus 155 is still a nice payback. But the Padres were swept by the Brewers. They go into LA after they just lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers at home, and they end up getting the tie-breaking run in the 8th. They hold off the Dodgers 3-2. So San Diego, after looking pretty poor against the Milwaukee Brewers, they play much better and get the win over the Dodgers. First loss for LA at Dodger Stadium this season, and they still have 3 more to go. You have Darvish and Kershaw tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. But good job there by the Padres to beat the Dodgers and beat Walker Buehler last night without one of their best pitchers, with Ryan Weathers going. And look, wasn't Darvish, wasn't Snell, wasn't Lamet, and they still end up getting the win on the road. So good job by the Padres, at least to help themselves out there in the first game. The Yankees fell behind the Indians. How about that? 3-0 after 1. Cleveland doesn't score again the rest of the way. Cleveland's offense just don't trust right now. And Domingo Germán ends up getting out of that jam, and the Yankees score 6 runs. That's impressive by the Yankees, considering their offense has been terrible this year, and they go into Cleveland, and they beat the Indians 6-3. So New York takes the first game of that series, and they've had major struggles so far. They have a long way to go in the AL East, obviously, and Baltimore's not going to be a factor, really, when it's all said and done, but Boston's playing well, even though they lost last night, and you're still going to have Tampa Bay in the mix there. Toronto's kind of up and down, but the Yankees, you got to think, things have got to turn around for them sooner or later. So, another one of these explosions in 10 innings, the Mariners put up 4 in the top of the 10th to beat the Red Sox 7-3. And that one just stinks because, look, the Diamondbacks-Reds game was over, or the game went over the total before you went to extra innings. At Fenway last night, that's a 2-2 game at the end of 6-3-3 going to the 10th. So 6 runs with a 9.5 total. You can even have someone score 1 and then 2 and you're still okay. But the Mariners explode for 4 in the top of the 10th inning and beat the Red Sox 7-3. You got to give Seattle a lot of credit. They came back last night to beat Boston. They came back twice against Minnesota. They beat the Dodgers. They took 2 of 3 from the Astros. They've played pretty well so far, considering there's not stars on Seattle at all. And yet they're in a very tough division where Oakland has totally turned it on. They've won 11 straight. The Astros have struggled. The Angels are there. The Rangers have actually been all right, considering they're supposed to be in last place. But Seattle has put up some good numbers so far. They've been competitive. You got to give them that. They've been very competitive. And when you look at who they've played, that's not an easy schedule. San Francisco out of the gate. The Giants have been better than we thought. Playing the Dodgers already for a couple games. Going on the road to Boston and Minnesota. Playing Houston. These are quality teams that the Mariners are facing. And look, they've held their own. Got to give them that. So the Astros offense finally busts out last night, 8-2 over the Angels. And this one, you got lucky on the over, even though it should have been over early. I actually had the over in this game as my guarantee last night. I had it at 8.5 because the number dipped to 8.5 and went back up to 9. But Houston had bases loaded in the first, didn't score. They had bases loaded again in the second after scoring 3, and they couldn't get more runs. The Angels had second and third, I believe, in one inning and couldn't score. And the only home run, or the only run scored by the Angels, was on a 2-run homer by Albert Pujols, one that needed to go to review, that nicked the right field foul pole. And it was close. Honestly, if they don't call that a home run, that probably stays under the total because the Astros just stopped scoring. I mean, they did their job, but the Angels couldn't do anything. And Christian Javier totally mowed down everyone. That it was strikeout or nothing for the LA Angels last night. There weren't any balls hitting the infield out for outs. Everything was a strikeout. And Alex Cobb got lit up early, but the Astros, they bounced back from that rough road trip, and they finally get a win. The Pirates beat the Tigers in the lone interleague game 4-2, so Pittsburgh takes 2 of 3. And Pittsburgh is playing well. There's really no one, when you think about it, like all these supposed bad teams, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Texas, even Detroit, they've had their moments so far. No one is 3-15. No one's that bad. I mean, the Yankees had the worst record in the American League, which is amazing. But no one is really in a major hole so far through the first. Colorado's 6-12. Like, that could be the worst one. But, again, they're expected to be in last place, but they're 0-6 on the road. 6-6 at home. They've been competitive at home. All right, let's look at today's games, today and tonight in Major League Baseball. Brewers and Cubs, they hook up from Wrigley Field. If I'm not mistaken, this is already their third series, right? Because they started, they've already played 2 series, so they're knocking them out fast. In the first series with the Cubs and the Brewers, all 3 games stayed under. Cubs won the first one, then lost the last 2. One of those was an extra innings, that 4-2 game. And then the Cubs dropped 2 of 3 at American Family Field. I want to say Miller Park, but it's not Miller Park anymore. So the Brewers 4-2 against the Cubs this season, and Chicago off the 3-game sweep of the Mets. Now they're playing with a little bit of confidence. So, and look, the Cubs. I mean, you see the offense finally getting a little bit better. They had a run here, they just couldn't score. But the Brewers now they hit the road they stay on the road after they swept San Diego. And Kyle Hendricks was terrible against the Braves on Sunday night. He was racked in that first inning. So Hendricks was supposed to face the Brewers in Milwaukee, but was scratched due to a sickness. So we'll see if Milwaukee can keep it up. Look, 7-2 on the road for the Brewers. Very impressive job by them. Jacob deGrom is laying 310 tonight against the Nationals and Eric Fede. Jacob deGrom is 310, and it's hard to trust him. It really is. Hard to trust them, not him. deGrom is going to put up the numbers. He's going to be great, but you can see the Nationals win this game 2-1 just because deGrom gets no run support, and the Mets need to score late to win in his last start against the Rockies. Eric Fede actually pitched well in his last start against Arizona. So with Steven Strasburg out, Scherzer's doing his job. Patrick Corbin is not pitched well. He finally got, the Nationals finally won a game that he started against the Cardinals the other night. But Eric Fede, is he going to be that second guy to step up behind Scherzer? Like, they really need someone to be behind the ace. But Washington, a heavy dog tonight, and the Mets 4-1 at home, and after they got swept. I like to say, or I said earlier about the Padres, that you get value in these teams that are underdogs after getting swept. Now the Mets are laying 300 after getting swept. How do you do that? How do you lay 300, with a team normally, but how do you lay 300 with a team that just got swept in the road? That's what's tough about it. I mean, Washington, look, Juan Soto's hurt, so that obviously doesn't help their cause because their MVP candidate is not in the lineup, and the Nationals' offense has struggled at times. But look, if Fede can pitch well enough, we know what the Mets' offense does when deGrom's on the mound. Nothing. The Diamondbacks and the Braves from Atlanta tonight, and the Diamondbacks 9-10, coming off a 3-game sweep of Cincinnati. They split 4 games with Washington, so 7-7 on the road. That's not a bad job for the D-backs. And the Braves, back at home after playing the Yankees 8-10 for Atlanta. Luke Weaver on the mound. Yanoa going for Atlanta. And, again, laying 160 there. And Luke Weaver, he's been all right. He's been better than he had in the past few years. So, Arizona's been competitive. And again, that's the one thing we've seen through the first 3 weeks of the season are a lot of teams that are hanging. There's a lot more evenness. When you get past the Dodgers, there's a lot more evenness in Major League Baseball, if that's even a word, than it used to be. Reds and the Cardinals in St. Louis, and Sonny Gray makes his second start of the season. Kwang Hyun Kim goes for St. Louis. Now, what's interesting with Sonny Gray is he faced the Cardinals twice last season. First time at Busch Stadium, had a 4-2 lead, and he left the game. The Reds bullpen gave it up in the ninth. Cardinals scored 3 in the bottom of the ninth to beat Cincinnati 5-4, and Sonny Gray was like a 120-130 road favorite in that game. They played later on in the season. You had this same pitching matchup, Gray and Kim, and Sonny Gray got racked in the first inning. Gave up 6 runs, didn't get out of the first inning, recorded only 2 outs, and the Cardinals blew out the Reds. Sonny Gray was laying 165, and Kim actually pitched well last season in his time whenever he was in the Cardinals rotation. Kim wasn't great his first start against the Phillies last week. 3 innings, got a lot of run support, but he exited. And now you're getting Sonny Gray basically a pick 'em against the Cardinals. I think the Reds would be worth a look here, especially after getting swept by the Diamondbacks. And the Cardinals, their offense has been poor. They've had a couple breakouts, but I want to put this number out for you. So the Cardinals are 4-0 when Jack Flaherty starts the season. Okay, they're ace. They're 4-10 in the other 14 games. So, and Kim started one of those wins, just to put that out there. But when Flaherty obviously gives them the best opportunity to win. Past that, I don't know who you trust in that Cardinals rotation. That's what's tough. Also, Cincinnati, in their 2 road series at San Francisco and at Arizona, they won the opener. Lost the next 2, won the opener. So that kind of important. The Phillies and the Rockies from Coors Field tonight, and Vince Velasquez, who always seems like a gas can at times, against German Marquez. Colorado 6-6 at home, and the Rockies, who again they played well at Coors Field. They faced the Dodgers and Astros already, and they had a series win against the Diamondbacks. But Phillies at 1-5 on the road. The only win you could say probably could have been a loss at Atlanta on that sack fly, the throw at the plate, and that Sunday night game that the runner was out, but they called him safe. So the Phillies could easily be 0-6 on the road. But the Phillies coming off the walk-off win against the Giants a few days ago, and Marquez, he's kind of an up-and-down pitcher, and Velasquez, a tough guy to trust. But you said you want to lay it with Colorado. That really is the question there. The Marlins and the Giants, they continue their series in San Francisco. Alex Wood shut down the Marlins last week when they played in Miami. And Sandy Alcantara, I always mess up his name, Sandy Alcantara, he's one of the top pitchers, if not the top pitcher for the Marlins. And you're getting him as an underdog here. San Francisco 6-1 at home. They continue to play well at home. But you wonder if Alex Wood can shut down the Marlins again. And the Marlins, another team that had a bit of a slow start, but they've turned it on of late and only got 2 hits last night, so maybe they turned around against Alex Wood. Yu Darvish and Clayton Kershaw tonight. They square off at Dodger Stadium. And the Padres off the win last night. San Diego 6-2 on the road, little misleading because they swept Texas and they split a 4-game series with Pittsburgh. So they're playing 2 likely last-place teams, and now you face the Dodgers. But they beat the Dodgers last night, so you got to give them that. Their offense has still not really showed up, and Yu Darvish, he's pitched well for the Padres. Clayton Kershaw, you don't see him that often as this short of a favorite, but look, the Padres, if they could find a way to win these games 3-2, they got an opportunity. They've gotten the pitching. It's just the lineup. I mean, you have all these big bats in it, and they just can't hit the ball. Is obviously a concern with San Diego, but that is an excellent pitching matchup tonight at Dodger Stadium. So you go to the American League, and Oakland, who was 0-6, now 12-7. They've won 11 in a row. They had that crazy win against Minnesota a few days ago, which was still garbage in my opinion because the Twins totally threw away that game. But now Oakland goes on a road trip out east. They face Baltimore, and Oakland is short favorite here against a Baltimore team just 1-6 at home. They were swept by the Red Sox at home, and their only home win came against the Mariners. But the Athletics, 11 consecutive wins. You can't take that away from them. Cole Irvin, Jorge Lopez on the mound. And Lopez pitched well his last time out against the Rangers. And Cole Irvin, he's had some success in the mound for Oakland. So see if Oakland keeps up their winning streak. Seattle and Boston and the Mariners 6-2 on the road. Very impressive. Boston 6-7 at home is just really funny because they played well on the road, but swept by the Orioles or very lost to the Mariners, but yet they swept the Rays. It's been kind of an up and down thing at home for the Red Sox. Martin Perez and Yusei Kikuchi on the mound for Seattle, so a pair of lefties going there. And you wonder if this game goes opposite last night of the total, even though Seattle scored the 4 runs late. So do you play, all right, they're going to bust out tonight, or the game really stayed under last night before you went to extra innings? Does it stay the same coming up today? But Seattle's offense, they've done well. You got to give the Mariners credit right now. Yankees and Indians, Jordan Montgomery, Logan Allen, a couple more lefties on the mound, and the Yankees lane 140. So they go from a short underdog last night with what seemed like the pitching advantage there to kind of more of a push here. Logan Allen's a young pitcher, but Jordan Montgomery laying 140 seems a little rich in that one. Royals and Tigers in Detroit. Casey Mize, the former top pick out of Auburn, 2 good starts out of the gate, got lit up by the A's last time on the road. No shame in that. Mike Minor really hasn't put up good numbers in the last few years, and this number dropped a little bit. Detroit coming off the series defeat to Pittsburgh, and Kansas City, only their 5th road game of the season. So far, 2-2 on the road. Offense hasn't been great on the road. Granted, they faced Shane Bieber in Cleveland. They faced Lance Lynn in Chicago. So they have faced some of the top pitchers. Now you're facing a young guy in Casey Mize. But also now the Tigers a short dog after they were favored in all 3 games against Pittsburgh. Toronto and Tampa Bay is interesting because Tyler Glasnow laying 155. And he shut down the Yankees last time he faced them. And now you're getting the Blue Jays, who, again, make the short trip from Dunedin. I mean, when I say short trip, I mean Dunedin to St. Petersburg is not far at all. So they are really close. I don't want to call this a home game for Toronto. I mean, anybody plays at Tampa Bay, it seems like a home game for them. But Steven Matz has done a good job since coming over from the Mets, and probably needed a new environment there. And Toronto off the win at Boston a few nights ago. So Tyler Glasnow laying 155. Doesn't seem that high. I think it'd be a little higher with him with the way he's pitched so far on the season. Andrew Haney and Zach Greinke go tonight in Houston. Astros laying 135 to the Angels. And Zach Greinke threw a gem at Seattle last time he took the mound. But the Astros just 2-5 at home. They're getting bats back. Bregman's back. Jordan Alvarez is back. So the only guy who's really missing is Altuve for the Astros. But they're getting some of their bats back. You saw that in last night's win against the Angels. And Mike Trout got hit by a pitch last night. We'll see what his status is for tonight. Anthony Rendon's already hurt. So the Angels losing a lot of their power. They still have Ohtani, but obviously Albert Pujols hit a homer last night, but he's aging, and he's not the main guy in their lineup anymore. And we'll see what Andrew Haney does tonight. He's still a good young pitcher for the Angels. Texas and Chicago. Dane Dunning, this will be an interesting one for him. He was traded by the White Sox to the Rangers in that Lance Lynn deal, so obviously he'll have a lot to show tonight against his former team. And Dylan Cease, not exactly the top option for Chicago's rotation once you get past Giolito and Keuchel and Lance Lynn, and then even Rodon. So Dylan Cease laying 140 to Dane Dunning, and Dunning's return to Chicago. Maybe Texas is worth a look there. And Texas, so far, 6-4 on the road. That's a pretty good job by the Rangers, and they face the Angels and Rays in that span. So, and what's interesting is they won series at LA against the Angels, at Tampa Bay, but yet they lost the series to the Royals on the road, so figure that one out. Pittsburgh and Minnesota is the interleague set this weekend from Target Field, and the Twins laying 155 with J.A. Happ on the mound, so J.A. and J.T. on the mound tonight. J.T. Brubaker actually has not pitched that poorly for the Pirates. He's actually been pretty decent for them. But even look at Pittsburgh, 5-7 on the road. Minnesota just 2-5 at home off that sweep at the hands of Oakland. A rough road trip. They had the COVID stuff that stopped them for a few days. So Minnesota, I'm sure, happy to be home, but you're 6-11. You got to get your stuff together. And you are you're facing Pittsburgh. And again, Pittsburgh's played better than advertised, but you can't be losing this series if you're the Twins. Let's look back at NBA from last night. And where do we start? So Pelicans, after they had a couple tough losses to the Nets, to the Knicks, to the Wizards, all as a favorite. They're laying 10 at Orlando, and they body slammed the Magic last night, 135-100, 45 in the second. And Orlando obviously just can't compete right now with what they have. In New Orleans, I mean, you put Zion and Brandon Ingram out there against whatever Orlando has, the Pelicans are going to destroy them. And look, Stan Van Gundy called him out about the defense, so even though Orlando's not a great team, still holding them to 100 points is pretty impressive. Phoenix, finally, they hit the brakes a little bit as they lose to Boston 99-86, so the offense really does nothing. And Jaylen Brown dinged up for the Celtics, but yet Boston bounced back from that Chicago loss, and Phoenix, after beating Philadelphia the night before, Milwaukee, a couple close games, they lose that game to Boston under hits easily. Doesn't even really threaten at all. Milwaukee holds off Philadelphia 124-117 in a game the Bucks were cruising in. Ben Simmons out again for the Sixers. You see Philadelphia outscored by 14 in the fourth quarter. Philadelphia had a chance to cover in this one. Bucks hit some free throws late, but Milwaukee ends up beating Philadelphia for the second time this season, so we'll see if they face each other again in the playoffs. DeMar DeRozan does not play for the Spurs. Pistons sat some guys out, and San Antonio wins that one 106-91. So the Spurs rebound after they were blasted by the Heat the night before. Chicago pretty much stayed in control of that game against Charlotte. We know the Hornets are undermanned right now. 108-91 at the United Center. And Chicago, who was routed by Cleveland, they have a nice message there for Charlotte in a game that stays under the total. You had that second quarter 45, fourth quarter 44, pretty much sealed the deal there. Anthony Davis returned for the Lakers, and he scores just 4 points. Lakers lose that one to the Mavs, 115-110. So Dallas, after having a lot of problems scoring and or winning games at home, winning and covering. I mean, they beat Detroit. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. Just covering games at home, they were on an 0-5 ATS run at the American Airlines Center. So them beating the Lakers last night, that's a good win for Dallas and helps themselves inside of the Southwest Division. So looking ahead now to the night in the NBA, and we'll begin with Brooklyn and Boston from Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And so far, the Nets, they have lost, or the Nets have beaten the Celtics, rather, twice so far on the season. And for Boston, play with no rest here. You got to think important game for the Celtics. I mean, obviously, too, for the Nets, because they want to stay atop the Atlantic Division. They were helped out by the Sixers losing last night. But the Celtics, though, they come into this one trying to pick up a road victory, trying to beat the Nets for the first time this year. And they've not had good luck with the Nets. They hung around the last matchup. They were blown out back on Christmas when they played. But we'll see if Kevin Durant comes back tonight. He was listed as questionable earlier. You know Kyrie's going to play. Trae Young won't play for the Hawks as they face the Heat tonight in Atlanta. And the Heat laying 5.5. And again, the Hawks, a bit of a dinged-up team now. And the Heat can overtake the Hawks for first place in the Southeast Division with a win tonight. So for Miami, they lay 5.5 after beating San Antonio, playing a little bit better of late. They beat Brooklyn also during the stretch, and they split 2 games with Atlanta so far in the season. Cleveland and Charlotte, they just played a little bit ago, and Cleveland won at Charlotte. So now the Hornets laying 1.5 at home to the Cavaliers, and Cleveland not great on the road, just 9-21. Washington at Oklahoma City. Washington's won 6 straight. Is that amazing? That this team could have packed it in, and yet they are right in the thick of that play-in situation for the playoffs, the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. Washington just beat Oklahoma City at home a few days ago, so now they're playing again at OKC. And the Thunder have picked up a few covers in a row, so you wonder if they can cover here. One thing that scares me about Washington, some of these wins during the stretch, I know they beat Oklahoma City and Detroit at home, but also beating New Orleans and Golden State as a underdog at home scares me that now they're laying 10 on the road. Oklahoma City, again, doesn't have much of a roster, but Washington going from a 2-point dog to Golden State to laying 10 on the road at Oklahoma City seems a little rich. Clippers laying 10 at Houston. The Rockets have been terrible. There's no disputing that. Kawhi Leonard's still out. We'll see if Paul George returns tonight. Clippers didn't have a lot of guys in the lineup the other night, but they still beat the Grizzlies. So LA here laying 10 to Houston, and the Rockets, again, they're a complete disaster. Memphis at Portland, very interesting. First time they're meeting this season. And this is a rematch of that really entertaining play-in game in the bubble last year that Portland won, but Memphis covered. So we're at the end of April, and these teams haven't played each other yet this season. Portland laying 3. Memphis got Jaren Jackson back a few nights ago against the Clippers, so that's obviously a huge get for the Grizzlies besides John Morant. And Damian Lillard came back for the Blazers, but they lost to the Nuggets. So Portland has lost a few in a row. Crucial game, obviously, for both teams, but Portland needs to get back on track. Denver's at Golden State. Last time Denver played at the Chase Center in San Francisco, they lost Jamal Murray for the season with a torn ACL. So now the Nuggets back there at Chase Center facing the Warriors. Golden State back after their long Eastern road trip off the loss to Washington, and Denver playing pretty well, 38-20. Probably not going to catch the Jazz in the Northwest, but Denver's still a threat there in the Western Conference. So that's the look at the NBA for tonight. I want to remind you about our handicappers at VegasInsider.com. You can buy picks at VegasInsider.com, and our daily experts, $29.95. As you see, picks starting to roll in soon with more of these lines coming out, and you can purchase selections $29.95 for the day. Also guaranteed picks $39.95. It's only one selection, and if the pick wins, you pay $39.95. If the pick loses, you pay nothing. Simple as that. And we have that for NBA, for Major League Baseball, and for NHL. So you can go to the Buy Picks page, and you can purchase picks there if you want to. Now, also other events coming up. We have UFC 261 coming up, and we have plenty of other things you can preview here on our homepage. Celtics Nets, the big game I talked about. Also, a pick on the Kings Wild game tonight in the NHL from Matt Blunt, right here, Friday's Best Bet. Kevin Davis has some free picks for Major League Baseball as well. And also, if you're interested in some horse racing at Belmont Park, Geico 500, Micah Roberts with his predictions for that race at Talladega coming up on Sunday. Also the Oscars. Tom Cunningham broke down all the Oscars. He's got plenty of information about that. Betting odds, also his interview with Johnny Avello from DraftKings, and the NFL draft. It's coming up next week, next Thursday. So odds on that. Kentucky Derby coming up next Saturday. So many things besides just the NBA, Major League Baseball, and NHL. So many things to look at VegasInsider.com, and you can find it on our homepage. And also a reminder about our Daily Insider contest to put down in the comment section. Remember, not in the live chat, in the comment section below the video, your user ID on VegasInsider.com, your best bet for tonight, whether it be a first 5-inning play, a side, a total, NBA, NHL, doesn't matter what it is, just one play. And you'll be in the drawing. Remember, if you win, doesn't mean you automatically win the prize. It just means that you're in the drawing to win the prize. Okay? So, you put down your user ID. If you don't have a user ID, you register in a big yellow button here in the upper right corner. You click on it. You go to register now. Free membership. Create your ID and password. Put down your information there. It's free Free, free, free. You don't have to pay for it. So user ID, the reason we ask for the user ID is how we get in contact with you. If your name is just John and you have the Braves tonight, that doesn't help us. We need your user ID, your game, and then we can get in touch with you. If you are the winner, you have to win your best bet too. You can't just put down a pick and lose. You got to win the pick too. And you'll be in the drawing for a free week's worth of handicapper selections of a handicapper of your choice at VegasInsider.com. So that is what the prize is. If you don't win today, you can play again Monday. Simple as that. We're going to keep this going every single day. So, with all that being said, we appreciate you tuning in to the Daily Insider here at VegasInsider.com. I know we came a little early today at 11:30. If you are just joining us and you usually come in at noon, you can watch the entire Daily Insider on either our YouTube channel at VegasInsider.com or on our homepage. You see right here, Friday's Daily Insider. You can click on that link and you can watch the show in its entirety. So in case you just joined us, we started a bit early today, but we'll be back at noon on Monday. So just wanted to put that out there for you. So if we inconvenience you, we apologize, but you can still watch the show. It's not like it goes away. This isn't 90s television. It's still right there. You can watch it on demand and catch whatever you missed today. So with all that being said, I am Kevin Rogers. We appreciate you watching once again. And as always, best of luck with your bets.